Tuning in to the online broadcast network, AfterBuzz TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AfterBuzz TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows. Interviewing celebrities and showrunners. And bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Focus to the right, here I am, stuck in the middle with you.
Yeah, it's so catchy.
Mm-hmm.
It is. Hello, everyone. Welcome to AfterBuzz TV's after show for Netflix's Grace and Frankie. We are in season 1. Today, we are going to break down 2 episodes for you. We are going to do The Dinner, which is episode 3, and The Funeral, which is episode 4. They really go very well together, so we thought we'd just do it all in one foul swoop, since some of you have probably already binge watched. I am your host, Lauren Leonelli, and this wire is going to seriously kill me. Just put that back there. You can find me at Lauren Leonelli on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Vine, and my website. And here with me are my lovely co-hosts. To my right, stuck in the middle with you. To my right.
Hi. I'm just a little confused over here. I'm Jenifer Golden. You can find me on many things at Jenifer Golden and on Instagram at Jen the Jew.
And I am Lauren Lograsso. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at LoloLogro, at LOLOLOGRO, and Facebook.com/Lauren Lograsso.
And I am Jillian Fleischman. You can find me on Twitter at Jill_Fleischman, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, everything else. It's Jillian Fleischman.
All of the things.
All of the things.
All right, guys, let's start out with The Dinner. We'll kind of break it down. We'll talk about what happened, and then we'll move on to The Funeral. But both these episodes, I felt like they kind of just went... They all go together, really, because that's how Netflix works. But they really, even the titles, The Dinner and The Funeral.
Yeah. Well, it's very like Marta Kaufman, like Friends was like the one with.
Right.
They were
are
always
the something.
The one with, yes, very Marta Kaufman, which we love, which is why we love the show so much. Okay, so The Dinner. So the dads are throwing a dinner, and at the same time, you know, they do this. Obviously, almost in every episode we've seen so far, it's like this parallel story, A-B storyline where like Saul and Richard are doing something and Grace and Frankie are doing something. And maybe they meld together, or we just watch them like live parallel next to each other, which is actually pretty funny because I believe that it feels like their lives were probably lived that way for the past, like, I don't know, however long these men were in love with each other. They were living these parallel lives next to their husbands and not really with them. Yeah. So... who knows if that was on purpose or not, but it could have been. So the dads are throwing a dinner, and Grace and Frankie decide they need to go back to work.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yes.
And, of course, there are issues that come. I really, honestly can't decide where this damn wire should go. It's going to come
It does kind of get
in the front.
We finally learned a little more about what they do because we've been talking, what does Grace do? Now we know that she had a big beauty company that she gave to her daughter.
Although I still don't know I mean, there's still some details that are left out.
I don't know what they make.
Is it hair care? Is it makeup?
Really unclear, but it went from her face on the box, which she was really upset about, to a plant. So the plant is obviously part of the product.
Yeah.
Right. What that product is, no one knows.
And obviously that could have just been one of, I'm sure I would assume there's a bunch of different products.
Right.
Right. Because we saw 3 separate products on the table.
Right.
So, and I love that quote where she goes, I got replaced with a plant.
Yes.
Well, this episode, I'm sure we'll get into it a lot more, was all about the feeling of being irrelevant.
Old and
lot
invisible.
Of different ways. Like, Grace obviously wanted to come back, and Bree said no, because if you come back, you'll take the attention and I won't be there.
Yeah.
Or at the end when they're, at the checkout. And
they're
no one wants to talk
invisible.
to them.
Yeah, right.
But that's skipping ahead a little bit.
No, but that is a good... it's kind of like talking about it in general, what they were going through.
Right.
And the dads, well, okay, so let's keep it on Grace and Frankie then. So we watch these women obviously deal with having to be in this new life, but they feel old, and there's all these things in society around them telling them that they're old or that they're done or that they've that they're
invisible.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
Most people at this point in their lives have done a lot of things, and now they're just kind of like retiring into how do you say
Whatever.
that nicely? Death.
Retiring into death.
You know what I
They're
mean? Like
aging.
they've accomplished the most
Right.
people have accomplished the things that they would or have hoped to accomplish at this point in their lives, and now they're just like growing old gracefully and
Enjoying life. They should be
Enjoying-
in the stage where they're enjoying life, not reinventing themselves.
Yeah.
And that sort of idea is only highlighted by the fact that Robert and Saul are so together and doing everything together, and Grace and Frankie are bored and kind of lost
And still
and
together,
don't really know
the
what
two
to
of them.
do. but
Their
they're
roles
separate.
have changed.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
who they are as people has changed because they're no longer wives. And they're parents, they're mothers, but their kids are all grown up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they are sort of having to reinvent themselves and find themselves all over again, and they are struggling with feeling irrelevant.
and they're
to
thrust,
everybody.
and they're
Yeah.
thrust into, which comes in the funeral episode. Grace said something to Richard, which we'll get into, but Robert. Wait, why am I calling him Richard?
I mean, both ours, both standard.
Okay, wait,
sturdy
just so you
names.
guys know, I do this all the time. I get
Really?
people's names wrong all the time, only on shows.
That's good though.
So, okay, so
That's good that you explained that because I felt bad having to correct you. And I was like,
So no, don't feel bad. Usually I'm like,
you
what's,
know.
what's his name again? I'm like, it's like episode 12, season 4. I'm like, what's his name again?
like that guy with the guitar.
the main
agree.
character.
Who's married to her.
I think this
Right.
is the best I've ever done at knowing people's names on shows. I
don't know this.
Except I don't know the African American son's name.
Bud.
Do you?
Bud.
Bud. Okay.
I almost
didn't
wrote that
mention it.
just because I didn't know his name.
Yeah.
I was going to be like, buddy.
They didn't mention it hardly at all in the dinner episode.
Right.
No,
Yeah.
but I'm so pro team Bud.
I am too. I think he's
Dinner.
most level-headed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For some reason, I remembered him, but not Robert. Robert.
Yeah.
Robert. I'll get it. Anyway, so Grace says something to Robert in the funeral episode that brought me back to the feeling that she is. I now am not remembering where I was going with that because there was something about her feeling. That Grace and Frankie are thrust into this life where they're like not really happy, and they're like, but you guys get to be happy. That's not fair.
Yeah. Right.
And it's not necessarily that black and white, but they are, like you all were saying, thrust into this life where like they have to learn how to recreate their roles and who they are, and they also, I think, are dealing. They're on like the crap end of the stick too.
Yeah, I think what you're referring to, she says something like, you didn't lose anything.
Right.
We
Yeah.
lost everything. And
Yeah.
a little bit before that or after, he's crying because
Yes.
we realize he did lose something.
So
He-
that scene is only actually. They do a really good job, I think, in the show of making you not hate Saul and Robert because
Right.
if you hadn't seen him crying about the loss of her in that episode, then you would have been like, oh well, screw them. But
I definitely hated him throughout the episode prior to that moment.
Saul, Robert, or both?
Robert, I thought he didn't embrace
Yeah.
Saul. He wanted them to follow rules and
Yeah.
and how to call each other and stop crying, and wanted him to get up before
Right.
he was
I
ready.
think,
And
he's more pent up for sure. It's harder to relate to him in general.
well, what's funny is I think that we talk a lot about how Grace and Frankie are so different, but Saul and Robert are also very different. They're
Definitely.
like who their wives were.
Exactly.
So they have to kind of join together and balance each other out.
yeah, exactly. And we get to see, again, them adjusting with each other, and they are kind of like living side by side in the A and B storyline, and it's interesting. But in this particular episode, we had the dinner party happening, and then we did get a taste with Richard and Saul.
Robert. By the way, we're gonna put a jar here every time you go
Yeah.
on Richard. You gotta pop in
Yeah.
something in there.
It's our version of the
Robert.
swear jar.
Not even, and it can't be a quarter. It has to be $1 because a quarter
Yeah.
would make too much noise.
really?
And
Who's
we're
getting-
gonna split it at the
Oh,
end.
right,
Yes,
right.
The riches.
See?
Watch me call him
Go to happy hour.
Robert for the rest of the episode now. Robert was kind of trying. You see how he was dealing with Saul even then. Like there was like there's little idiosyncrasies the whole time. But Grace and Frankie. So now that we know that Grace was she's the head of this beauty company, which we sort of got before. We also know now that Frankie is an art teacher.
Of convicts.
Ex-convicts.
Ex-convicts.
They
So
pay their dues.
That's an important distinction, I should say.
Ex. Right.
Yes. Yes. And she accidentally goes to a job interview. She's thinking she's going to a job interview.
Right.
But she's not.
No, she's at an old age home.
Poor
$10,000
thing.
a month to live there.
And she thought, like,
That's
you're paying me
wild.
$10,000
Right.
a month?
Right.
And then it all kind of clicked.
And then he shows her the bedroom.
Yes.
Which all
not
it
that
puts it all
big.
together. No, and it's just so funny that of course is the mistake. And throughout these episodes, we see that obviously Frankie can't hear and
Yes.
Grace
Oh, yeah,
can't
that's
see,
blatantly apparent.
and it's just such a funny They are like an odd couple.
They really
Both
are.
sets
Yeah.
are like odd couples, and it's so funny to watch that all happen. And
Yeah.
obviously neither of them get these jobs.
Look, they are really getting older. This is a real thing. And so I like that they're choosing to sort of make fun of it, yet at the same time, they're not just going to lay down and let it happen. Like they don't have a choice. They have to be youthful, they have to be young, they have to start over, and they're like, we're not gonna do this. Like we don't have to go like follow the societal norms of like getting old and like not caring about how we look and just going to an old folks home and stop work. What if we want to keep working? What if we want to look good when we go to a funeral? What if we want to like smoke cigarettes and drink alcohol? Like, why aren't we allowed to do that? And this show and the people behind the show definitely push those boundaries, and we're going to keep seeing it. And I think the other boundary they push is with the B or whatever side storyline of the dinner happening.
Yeah.
And they dealt with all of the things that we've talked about up to this point, which was if you guys were dating, if you left Our Mothers for Women, we wouldn't be eating cake right now.
Yeah.
And I thought about this a lot, and I thought to myself, because there's more than one of me that have conversations with
Multiples.
all of it. Depends on what mood I'm in. That they. Right now, like gay rights are such a prevalent thing, and it's great, and it's almost like celebrated because it's a thing. It's a very brave thing to come out. It's hard for people to do. They've been oppressed for so long, and so it's almost like a celebratory process. But I think that can't be confused with the loss that still happens when families deal with it.
Cheating still happens.
Cheating's cheating,
Right.
But I think at the table says, we can't even be mad at you because you're gay.
Exactly.
And I think I love that scene where I felt like they were challenging their dad's ideas of being able to transition into this with, no acknowledgement that they've hurt a lot of people in a sort of way. It's kind of like Robert and Saul feel like, well, we can get married now, we're happy, and praise us and be, happy for us. But there's a lot of hurt that comes along with that. And the kids have to, also deal with being now like a family when Mallory and Coyote have this love triangle, which we learned about.
Which we all talked about finally.
Didn't they call each other brosif after that?
Yes, that was
I loved that.
But everyone else is struggling, and they have to acknowledge that.
Yeah, I think that it's just, I like that this show is kind of taking, like, it's not just about being, like, it's not just another show about being gay, yay, like, it's not even about that anymore.
No,
like,
it's
let's
about
not
human
make,
relationships.
Exactly. Let's not make it a big hoopla because they're two men. Like, that's not what we're focusing. It's not a show about two gay men. It's a show about what you deal with when this happens. No matter what your skin color is, or no matter what your sexual orientation is, it just is what it is on like a human level. It doesn't matter. I like that they did that they kind of made fun of themselves, because you think that's what the show's going to be about. Here's another show about this trendy gay topic, and it's like, no, actually, they're pointing out that it really isn't even about that, and the kids all sit around and are like, oh, come on, guys.
Yeah, the show is billed as a comedy, but I was watching that scene, it was very serious, and it made it more of a well-rounded show, because you can't just have the laughs. I mean, Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin are great, but you have to have those real moments where...
For sure.
Because
there needs some humanity, otherwise it just wouldn't set in.
I mean, as a viewer, you're watching and saying, they can't adapt to it that easy. So you want to see the pain that's involved.
You were waiting for, because the episode starts with like the dads trying to get everyone, like, okay, let's make sure we're accommodating to everyone. Like, this person's gluten-free and Coyote can't drink, and they're all worried about it. I think it was them probably nervously just focusing on everyone else. And you're watching all of the kids be really tense about going, like, I don't want to go, and Mal's going to be there, and you're going. If I'm not going, you're going. And all of this hoopla, and then they all get there, and you're waiting for that moment in the kitchen where you're waiting for the two moments. So let's talk about the first one, where you're waiting for Coyote and Mal to talk about what this problem is. They could not have waited any longer. It needed to be addressed.
Yes.
We know that he's in love with her and was like, I'm drunk and I don't marry Mitch, and like that had already been married and had 2 kids.
They had been married for 7 years.
Yeah.
But I still think, I will say this.
A long time.
Yeah, like a little too late.
Well, those 7 years must have gone by him pretty quickly.
Yeah.
He was drunk the whole
Must have
time.
been very drunk.
Yeah.
I think that there's still more to the story.
Absolutely, because we'll have to know why he was in love with her in the first place, and how that even started, and then why they didn't get together, and why she married Mitch also 7 years ago.
Also, that was like my prediction this week.
Yes.
Not that it's much of a stretch now that we're talking about it.
No, but still.
You're psychic, for sure.
I feel like she is not that happy with her husband.
Definitely
Like,
not.
she's
Yeah,
popping
right.
pills, she's
Yes.
drinking everything. It seems like an overwhelmed young mom.
Why else would she be so uncomfortable with him? I mean, yeah, okay, it's inappropriate, but there's a reason why she's so uncomfortable with him
Right.
pushing this boundary. And like when he talks to her, and they're like in that private moment, you can tell she's just like, I don't want to talk to you about this. I don't want. She's like, she doesn't want to deal with it because
Right.
you know there's something there.
Right, and
Yeah.
it probably will easily come back up for her.
Who at the table wanted them to kiss?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
2 hands up.
Yes, I
It
was.
did
Like,
get a little weird when they started calling each other brosif, but
I mean, it was funny.
Oh, that was
but
funny.
it was weird.
I felt really good about the fact that she gave him the milk.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he did too.
Yeah.
But she didn't, she like slammed it down.
no, well,
No, that was
first,
assault.
that was assault. But then after they had talked and they came
Oh,
back to
right,
the
right,
table,
right.
she felt better. And he actually asked Bree for the milk. And she
gave
gave
She gave it.
I
Yeah.
think that
milked
she
it.
just.
Offering.
I think she just needed him to say, "Look, I didn't realize what I did. I am so sorry. Please, I think that's all she really
Yeah,
wanted."
there's no like resolution to that issue for them because she hadn't seen him and she didn't even know that he was out of rehab.
Right.
So
Right.
Does anybody else think it's weird though that the parents never comment on those two having a strained relationship?
I think that there was a moment, I do think that's weird, but there was a moment where when Mal handed him the milk that you just brought up, and I think it was, I don't remember if it was Saul or if it was Robert, but somebody, yeah, I saw you like waiting for me to F up.
She
I
wanted you
couldn't
to say
remember
Richard.
which
I
character
wanted
it
a
was.
dollar.
Well, you just said it, so now you have to put the dollar in.
Oh my gosh! Wait, I said Richard though because I thought she wanted you to say
You
Richard.
said it
did.
again.
I did.
I think
gosh,
it.
I'm adding up here.
I think it was Robert, and I think when she handed Coyote the milk, he grabbed his hand and went like this. And like I watched that acknowledgement of like, oh, see, they're okay, because the whole table saw them be weird when she slammed the salt down. So it's
But
like,
also, let's not forget when Jane was in the kitchen putting the groceries away for Frankie, she made some comment to Cody that was like, she better be after all
Yeah.
that you've put her through. And now after knowing what he did to Mal, I almost think
Yeah.
that was like
They all
two-sided,
know.
like
Well,
what he
yeah.
put all the
Right.
parents through.
I think
in a way.
they all they all air their dirty laundry. All of them know about all of it. So it's not. I think to me that was acknowledgement of like, okay, maybe they're gonna be okay.
I just mean in the fact that like they're now dating and they're like, what did Saul say? He's like, I'm going to be your stepmom now.
Oh, yeah.
So I think it'd be so strange if a guy that I had dated in the past was now my stepbrother. You know what I mean?
Well,
I'm just
if
shocked
they
that they're not
dated, we don't
acknowledging
know.
that.
Yeah. I
Oh
almost
yeah.
feel-
Well, but they said like the lost love of your life. So I guess you're right. We don't know if they were
I
together.
think they dated. We just
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah,
Right.
I do too.
I would think that if it was the love of his life, at some point they had some kind of
intimate connection.
Right.
For sure.
But I also think that we haven't even gotten to the we're siblings now thing because there was no resolution on their
Well,
conflict.
Brosif was essentially saying like,
Right.
you're
Right.
clearly now my brother
Well,
or
that's true.
something.
Yeah.
'cause
And obviously that nobody liked that. I thought that was really funny.
I did, too.
Love it.
And then we were also waiting for that conversation to happen, which thank God it did. And then we were waiting for the conversation between Bree and Bud.
Right.
And because everyone, we talked about that. Like, why is this okay? Because they're gay. Like, still,
Yeah, we
it's
touched
still.
on that.
So I like that they kind of like, and Bud was trying to kind of hold it together. He's like, it's fine. I'm putting my cake together, have my toppings, I'm
It
sprinkling.
looks so good, by the way.
Yeah, it did.
That was a naked cake. Have you heard about those?
No, what?
So they're called naked cakes, where they're like frosting is not. It's just like in the layers
right.
and on the top, but it's not around the outside.
I just
I
call
want
that
that.
the ability to eat the cake faster.
you
That's
know what?
I call that.
I like naked cake because I don't really like frosting.
Well, I love frosting, but not frosting the outside makes you able to eat it maybe 10 minutes sooner than
Yeah,
if you
like,
had to
unless you
frost
get
it.
right in there.
Easier to make too if you ever want to endeavor upon that.
It looks very rustic as well.
I liked it, and it looked very good. And
It'd
I
be
think
nice
we
on
should.
a Pinterest board.
It probably let's look that up. But anyway, so Bud was holding it together, and then finally, of course, Bree's the one to she's the loose cannon.
Yeah.
So she hits the nail on the head, and then they're forced to talk about it, and we see that he's like, you know what, I can't
he
deal with
blew
this.
up.
He's the one that takes the cake away. He's the one that and that was good that they addressed that. I was happy about that.
I was happy with how Saul actually wanted to communicate, and you can tell the difference too between Robert and Saul, same way that Grace and Frankie are.
Yeah.
Saul wants to get to the root of it and wants to talk about your feelings, and he's more the compassionate. What would be a mother, but I guess Grace isn't like that. And then Robert is very like buttoned up, and he's like, no, they can just get over it. this is what it is.
Well, he's
Yeah.
a more feminine energy of the two, and I think, when you compare them, Grace and Robert are both like masculine energies.
Totally.
And
Yes.
Frankie and Saul are more feminine energies. So they're trying to figure out how to now live a life with a different energy.
Yeah.
And I feel like we touched on most of the dinner episode. Are we leaving anything out?
The part where they went to go get cigarettes. I thought that was amazing.
Yes, that.
Yeah.
Do you want to hit up Citibank?
Yeah, love that.
Love
Do
that.
you want to hit up Citibank? I love that she stole. I love that Grace came unglued.
Oh, that was wonderful.
But
Yes.
it was so frustrating to watch.
Oh yeah,
It was because also the distance wasn't that far. Like
Right.
anybody yelling, and there weren't that many people around, would absolutely hear the yelling. Like, I mean, the person that worked there would have heard her yelling. So
Yeah.
she had to go that crazy and like explode for
was
it
totally-
to even be a thing. It was a hyperbole.
He was looking at a girl who was in like a tube top too.
Right.
Yeah,
I was
her
trying to see
outfit-
who she was. I was like, do we
I know.
her?
I was like, who is that girl? And she is not even that cute.
They didn't zoom in on her enough.
Jane Fonda
could've
is
been
way cuter than that girl.
Yeah.
I was
God,
with you.
I know.
Beautiful woman.
Of course, she
am
was
obs-
facing irrelevance because he wasn't paying attention to her. He didn't
Yeah,
care
that
what
really
Frankie
hit
had to
that
say.
idea completely, pushed it through a little
They
bit.
were just not seen.
Yeah. And then she blows up and shows emotion, and Frankie is the one who settles
Comes
her down.
in, saves the day, and then
Yeah.
we find out that she actually did the like funny, stole the cigarette, smoked
Yeah.
it, and said, "Yeah,
If you can't see me, you can't,
catch me."
catch me.
I loved that.
I loved it.
Yeah.
By the way, I think that Jane Fonda's hair is amazing.
I do too.
Right, but
It's
here's
just
my
so
question
Why
on
is it
that.
so good?
Do you remember in the first episode where she takes like the clip out?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you think that clip is in all the time, or that was just for that scene?
I think it was for the scene.
It's
I think
hard
it was
to
for the
say,
scene.
but
That
She
hair
has
looks
amazing
Her
hair.
hair is so good.
You know what she should have done in her life? Not just the workout videos, but like a hairspray product.
Totes.
The Jane Fonda.
Because it's all
Forget it.
voluminous.
Well, let me tell you, she's not done.
Aquafonda. Aquafonda instead of Aquanet.
Exactly.
Could have been a thing. Anyway, I had to give like a moment to her hair because it's like the best thing
Yeah.
ever.
It's
Yeah.
the perfect color too.
So good.
is.
All the time. Has bounce and everything. Maybe she did do hair. I don't
I
she
noticed
was-
it in that scene in particular, though, when she was losing. I was like,
Yeah.
"Damn, girl, look at your hair!
Yeah.
It defies
Bouncing
gravity.
up and down." Yeah,
Get it.
Amazing.
So good.
I do love how at the end of this episode it ends with the moms being relevant again and the kids felt
the
bad
cake.
about not telling their moms where they were and like coming clean and saying like, you know what, so much of this wasn't right. Let's make this part right.
Right.
Let's give our moms cake because they're hurting and they should have the cake. It's kind of like
they take the cake.
right.
Yeah.
They do take the
And
cake.
do you guys feel like when I watch it, I feel like Saul doesn't realize the impact that his relationship with Robert is having because he's
Totally.
like, we never told you not to tell. Like
Yeah.
we never,
Right.
It's
Oh,
like
he said something like, "Oh, you're making it worse by lying to your mother." I'm like, "Dude, you lied for 20 years."
Exactly.
Right.
Well, that's what they said
They
at the
called him
table.
out on
Oh,
that.
okay. Well, you're going to tell us about being honest?
They're like, are you intending to be ironic right now? I love that.
I did too.
Yeah.
It was true.
Yeah.
And I like that then they did that in the episode previous to this one, but that they ended it with like Grace not being able to read the note and Frankie not understanding what Grace said. And
Right.
then like they always do that. They have a moment where they come together, they're alone together at night. They whatever has happened in the episode kind of comes back with like a last like putting a button on the scene.
Yeah.
But then it has like a little heartwarming moment. So that's
Right.
nice.
we're getting more into the season now where we're seeing them become, best friends and that they need each other. And
Yeah.
it was so funny because the song that we started out with is the theme song. And I think watching the third episode, I was like, stuck in the middle with you. That totally rings true.
Yes.
I mean, maybe I should have realized it sooner, but like they're stuck in this weird situation.
Totally, it's like limbo.
with each other.
Right.
Yeah.
So now we move on to the funeral, which is episode 4. And basically, in a nutshell, a friend dies and who is really close with both of the families. We see how intertwined these families are through the entire episode. They're kids. They work together. There's no escaping. There is absolutely no way all of these people cannot be at this funeral. They talk about how the friend that died like got them the law firm and helped with the down payment for their house. It's like they have to go. There's no way out of it. There's no way that these families aren't going to be intertwined forever.
Right.
So they all have to go to this service, and we're watching Grace and Frankie really battle with like wanting to get in and get out, whereas Saul and Robert are more just like, well, we'll just go. And like they have a different thing to worry about. Their thing to worry about is that they're going to be coming out, and they've got to probably finesse it in a way, like, I can't make it about them, but people are going to be asking them these questions. So how do we do this? What do we do? Don't be too, like, lovey-dovey, but don't be cold, and we've got to be honest. But so we're watching, again, these two parallel lives happen where Grace and Frankie are trying to get ready, and we're seeing that they're very similar. Grace is very buttoned up and, like, puts her really good outfit on, and so does Robert. And Frankie's wearing some nasty shoes, and so is Saul.
Well, Grace had to push Frankie to get ready. Grace like, we have to leave in 9 minutes.
Yeah.
If not, we're going to be late. And Frankie, I think, was stalling.
She was wearing that T-shirt, and she was like dressed for her art class.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But I think Grace knows everyone's going to be watching them and wants to go and put on a good face.
Yeah.
There is a reason her name is Grace.
Right.
Yes.
And
Good one.
and her and I just think that she knew that everybody wanted to see her.
Yeah.
And she wanted to show up and be punctual and be like she always was. And Frankie kind of wants to hang back.
She's always put together, always. Like, she just doesn't ever not look put together. And so she knows at this point this is just what she does. And even when they get to the funeral, the judge that's talking to Robert says, there's Grace. She always looks so good. And he goes, she does. She always looks perfect. And that's like her thing.
Yeah.
And we watched Robert in that moment kind of struggle with, like, having to let go of that because Saul doesn't want to look perfect. He dresses weird and he can't tie his own tie and his shoes are just comfortable. Like, who wears comfortable shoes?
Did you guys find it a little bit not okay that Saul was wearing the tie that Grace bought
Yeah, I didn't like that.
Robert? I did not like that.
But they're like, I mean, they even touched on it. Like, now they're sharing each other's clothes and we have to, like, be shushed away.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's kind of just like what would happen if it were them together. They probably wouldn't share clothes, or maybe they would.
Well, you mean Grace and Frankie?
Yeah.
Grace would not put up with that, I don't think.
Well, maybe she would make Frankie wear, like, put my shoes on, or kind of
that
how
probably would
he was
happen.
trying to do that to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, poor guy. You could tell Saul was just like, I don't care what I look like, and obviously Robert was very.
Cha-ching!
Rich Robert.
Robert was very like, why are you doing this? Like, this doesn't make sense. And we see that even though they're obviously in love with each other and they're homosexual men, so for them to have been with these women for so long wasn't right, we still see them kind of mourning, like, the loss of being a partner with someone for so long that they're so much alike.
And they were outwardly perfect partners. Grace and Robert and Frankie and Saul, they were perfect for each other on paper.
Yeah.
It's just, they liked the boys, they liked the men, and it didn't work out.
Well, we touched on it a little bit before, how Robert, for the first time, feels the loss of Grace because they've been so focused on them as a couple that they haven't really dealt with any sadness that they would feel, and he kind
Just
of
like
does.
a man to deal with it later.
But he does.
Way after the fact when it's too late.
Yep, but we deal with it right away, just in case you guys were curious.
And
out there.
and actually, Frankie and Grace are dealing with it, like, in the moment. And, I think Robert and Saul are just kind of like, okay, well, this is our coming out party. And then we see Robert have the moment where he is actually mourning the loss of Grace and he cries. And it's funny that to me, it felt like the funeral was really for her.
Right, for their relationship.
And they did talk a lot about loss in their terms, like, when we said that Grace said to Robert, what did you lose? I lost being my family. I lost my husband. I lost my best friend.
She wasn't invited to the niece's shower.
Yeah.
Because, she was kind of backhandedly invited, but she was told, all these other family members are going to be there. And
so she really lost family.
Welcome.
And it did feel like that as a viewer, like, why that does kind of suck for them. And it's good that they touched on it at the dinner episode before. And it's good that she said that. And it did, again, I think it was nice that you saw, Robert so upset about it before, because otherwise in that moment,
it humanizes him.
You would have felt like, screw you, but you do still, they are trying to be as honest as they can now when it counts, and, you can't hate them for it, but you do see how different it is for Grace and Frankie to be going through this.
Yeah,
I liked the woman, the widow, when
Sally.
when her name was Sally, sure. Okay.
That was my
her
note,
name.
Sally.
Of course, they're waiting the whole time to just get in this line to talk to Sally because they really want to just get out of there so they don't have to deal with Saul and Robert. But when they finally get up there, and of course, Frankie's taking her time and being like, oh, I really dug your husband. And I love
that she said Doug.
Yeah, and she was like, well, I dug him too. And then she was like, but you have it way worse than me. I'm going to be gone soon, and now you have to deal with this for like 20 more years. And she was like, oh, God.
I know, but I actually thought in that moment, I was like, yeah, she gets to become a new person. It's not like bad, you know? It's like people who don't really, just are judging it from the outside. And we already see, episode 4, how they're changing for the better. They're figuring out what makes them happy and doing what they want.
From the outsider's perspective, it's like so daunting. Like you just lost your husband of 40 years. Your entire world is shattered. Like, and they can't think how to bounce back from that because that's something you're not dealing with.
Yeah, that's why it made so much sense why Grace wanted to look so good and be there, because I think the line was something like, how like the left behind wives take it,
Right. I don't think it was an accident that they were all coming back at a funeral either.
Right. It was very smart.
Yeah. And I think they definitely tied it up with like the loss of the, the relationships. It is like a funeral, and it is, maybe it's not worse, but in its own way, it's just as bad as somebody
it's
dying.
Definitely a loss.
Yeah.
It's definitely not as clear cut. Mm-hmm. Right. At least when someone dies, they're gone. When someone is like when a piece of your life gets amputated, you have to figure out how to walk without one leg.
And knowing that piece of your life is still very much going to be in your life. Like,
and also is happy.
Yeah. That
is
the most.
That's the nail in the coffin.
Someone moves on quickly. It's
and is living in your house.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. They're just
on your China.
They're so intertwined, and they really have to figure out how to navigate this very sensitive subject, and it's going to be totally rocky to watch it. The killer was the end of the episode, which we touched on when, I don't think that Frankie actually heard Grace when Grace said...
I don't either.
She gave the speech to Robert. She was like, look, you haven't lost anything, and now I'm just stuck with Frankie. And she walked by. I don't think she heard, because the whole joke was about...
Yeah.
And I also think it was important that she didn't hear, because she didn't mean it that way anyway.
Right.
So there wasn't actually something for her to be telling.
Right.
She chases her out because she does really care. And then, poor Frankie gets in the car, force a habit with Saul.
Oh, that was a killer.
Has the moment where she's like, oh, wait, and then has to open the door and be like, oh, that's for you, Robert, and then they walk off together.
Yeah.
That was tough.
That was a really sad
It was a sad moment. There was no button on that scene.
No.
But I will say my favorite...
make you feel things.
Yeah.
My favorite part was when that little boy was trying to butt Frankie in line.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, what are you planning on saying anyway, kid? You can wait. And he had this cute little speech about, like, Larry, or Grandpa, or whatever he was to him, like, was all the angels in the world, and I love him more than rainbows.
Yeah, that was cute.
That's pretty good.
Yes. Yeah. Poor Grace. She needed a little, like, someone to inject a little emotion, because she was just, like, all about, like, we're going in and we're coming out.
Yeah, she's trying to be very business.
Very her, yeah. She does that when it comes to feelings, obviously. But yeah, that ended very sad, and they walked off together. And I really wanted to watch the next episode, but I didn't want to get ahead of myself.
Nope. Had to stop. We are practicing restraint.
We are.
It is so tough.
It's healthy.
It is.
healthy.
Like you always say.
Yes, it's true. But it's healthy things can be hard. Like, you want to eat the pizza, but the chicken and the vegetables is what you're supposed to do.
Exactly.
It doesn't always feel good.
Doesn't always feel good.
No.
Got to make it work. All right, guys. Well, I feel like we hit on all of our topics.
Yeah,
do you
I
want
think we
to
did a good job.
Feel
bring
great.
some news and gossip?
I sure do.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
Gossip Girls.
Hey guys, so this is your news and gossip for this week of Grace and Frankie on Netflix. Martin Sheen actually goes a little buck wild recently because he did not want to do a particular scene in one of the episodes coming up called The Bachelor Party because it had a phallic symbol in it. And his whole stance on gay rights and everything is that he's pro-gay rights. He's spoken out about it many times. He actually played the president in the West Wing who supported gay rights, and so he really does feel for that. And so the one thing he had an issue with was doing this entire season of this show in a positive light and not doing it like too kitschy and doing it the right way. He said to Marta Kaufman, I want to do it the right way. It can't be too vulgar. like, this is about the people and the relationship dynamics. I don't want it to be like some kitschy thing. However, it was a bachelor party, so he just didn't be in that scene where, like, the phallic symbol was on the lawn and they had to change it.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wonder, like, how big the phallic symbol was, what the phallic symbol was.
Well, we'll see.
How
I feel like it's
offensive.
just an older fashioned opinion on it all because to me it's not offensive. What if it were a heterosexual party, it would have been the same thing. So
Right.
it's like, whatever. It's not.
Yeah.
I mean, anyway.
Yeah.
I feel like penises are an integral part of
It's
bachelor
just the way it
bachelor
happens.
parties.
Okay? Just the way it
Exactly.
happens.
And we are seeing it through their eyes as, like, that age person experiencing
Yeah.
a bachelor party, and they're
Right.
also a gay couple, so we would expect those kinds of silly
Right.
things.
I'm
You know?
sure.
So have you guys ever done the Jane Fonda? Like, have you ever done one of
Yes.
her workout videos?
I have.
No,
I
but I would be in
haven't.
much better shape if I did.
Well, it's not really that hard.
It's not. It was like tiny movements back then. Actually, it reminds me a little bit of like bar class.
Yeah, she said I read part of her book a long time ago, and she said she studied ballet and she incorporated a lot of it into it.
It's not at all like a bar class. It's like
bar classes
aerobics.
are really
It's
hard.
like Richard Simmons, where you're like doing
boy.
calisthenics the whole time and no like small muscle movements. It's just like, woo.
We should do it. Okay,
But-
we need to eat the foods and then do her workout.
But
on
she
camera
looks
sometime.
really good doing it, though.
She definitely does. And so that's why right now she's actually on the cover of W Magazine's July issue.
Gorgeous.
Many things are revealed in this magazine that she never saw herself as a fashion icon at all. But now, ironically, she feels she is, and she takes pride in what she appears like because she wants to be the face for her generation at this time, saying, like, okay, it's cultural to age, and I'm going to be the icon for that. So she wants to age gracefully, and she admits to having a little nip and tuck here and there.
And she does age gracefully.
No pun intended, because her name's Grace.
Holla. But yeah, so now that she's older, she's a little bit more self-conscious, and she's trying to, appear the way she does, and she looks damn good.
She does. Killing
Damn,
it.
Gina.
She
Killing
does.
She's inspirational.
And they touch on that, obviously, in the episodes we saw tonight, the funeral, how she looked amazing
Yeah.
and perfect.
Well, they wanted the show to be, kind of talking about the culture of what it's like realistically to grow older.
Yeah.
And they're touching on a lot of those things.
They are. She also admits in this particular article that she's had a few run-ins with the gay men over time, and she actually was proposed to by a gay actor once, and she campaigned with Harvey Milk in the Castro district in San Francisco. That's
right.
And she also admits to having thought Warren Beatty was gay because in 1959 they shot a scene in a movie, and they were thrown together, like she says, like two lions in a cage, and had to do this whole makeout thing, and she thought he was gay because he was an actor, he played the piano, and he had two gay friends, William Inge, is that how you say his name?
Yes.
And Tennessee Williams, who were gay. So she was like, well, he must be gay.
He must be gay.
However-
Stereotypes.
Yeah.
Total stereotype.
However, there's also, information that has been revealed in a biography about Warren Beatty that he slept with close to 13,000 women in his life.
Wow.
How do you even
As we know it,
do you
Warren Beatty is
sleep?
not gay. She's just saying at the time she
Right.
felt like, dude, this guy must be gay.
A lot of women.
Well, he
So a
is.
lot of women. That also isn't necessarily true. It was just said that he did that. His rep said that's baloney.
He is Warren Beatty, and he obviously slept with Madonna, so that should tell you something.
He's a
exactly.
beautiful man.
He is. I mean, and he
And
was
married to Annette Bening.
Right. Who's a beautiful woman.
Exactly.
Well, guys, that was your news and gossip for this week of Grace and Frankie on Netflix.
All right. Okay, guys, let's get into predictions since we're so good at it.
So good at it.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Okay, well, my prediction is not like all that creative, but I do think it's going to happen, and I think that we're going to see Mal and Coyote kiss.
Oh.
It's going to happen.
Yes.
Definitely.
I think that's mine too.
Yeah, I'm
So the
sorry.
Mal-
I also, maybe it's because I want it to happen, but
The Mal Coyote thing has to, come back up in some way.
I
So-
wonder how they're going to do it because I know that Brooklyn Decker doesn't technically have another episode.
on IMDb, she was listed as 3 episodes. But
Okay, so maybe we.
I just
okay.
looked it up again today, though, and now she's got a bunch under there. So maybe
Oh.
they wrongly listed it.
Oh, so maybe, yeah.
Because I can't imagine that whole storyline is
Just
wrapped
ends.
up.
Yeah,
Right.
my prediction will be to be a little different. The Mal Coyote thing, and then the husband. There's going to be something with she's not happy in her relationship.
No.
Okay.
We should actually find out how many episodes Jeff Stoltz is in.
Yes.
So that we can make a phone call. My prediction is that we're going to see more about Brie because right now she's sort of like single, unmarried, apparently now is running this company. I feel like we might see her date. And I do think to add to that, we're going to see a little maybe online dating. happen.
With the older women.
Yes.
Yes, I resonate on that.
Totally.
Yeah.
Could you imagine them Tindering? How funny would that
Oh my
be?
gosh.
Really funny.
That's
And
a
making
gold
each
mine.
other's profiles for each other. Oh
Yeah.
no.
Oh my
So
god.
good.
Yes.
Taking selfies together.
Yes.
Love it.
Yes.
All right, Lauren, do you have a prediction?
Oh, I definitely resonate on that. I think next episode's going to be a little bit funnier since we just experienced so much somber sadness in the funeral.
You're right, you're
episode.
right.
So this
Yeah.
one might be a little bit punchier and just more and more backstory.
Yeah, I love that. I love that we're getting into the backstory because we are just dying to know. It just hooks you right in.
Yeah, there has to be a reason why Grace and Frankie are not that close when the
Yeah.
families are so involved.
We want to hear about. We want to know about that.
so we
I
should
wonder
figure
if it
that out.
has to do with Coyote and Mallory.
It
though.
might.
Yes.
It might.
It probably ties in together. I would assume that it does.
Yay for more.
Yay for more. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in and listening and watching. And while you're online rating our show on iTunes and watching Netflix, please let us know what you think. Tell a friend. It keeps the lights on for us here, and we love to hear what you have to think. We're here for you, so we want to serve you and give us 5 stars. Yay! And I'm your host, Lauren Leonelli. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Vine, and my website at Lauren Leonelli.
And I'm Jenifer Golden. You can find me on Instagram at Jen the Jew and on the rest at Jenifer Golden.
I'm Lauren Lograsso. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram at LoloLogro, and Facebook at facebook.com/Lauren Lograsso. And also check out my Twitter and Instagram tonight because I'm playing a benefit for a young woman who has cancer. The proceeds go to her, so love to see you there.
And I am Jillian Fleischman. Find me on Twitter at Jill_Fleischman, and then everything else, Jillian Fleischman.
All right, guys, see you next week.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.